The rain came down in silver sheets across the wide Wyoming plains, turning dust into mud and wind into a cold knife that cut through even the thickest coat. Cole Harrison, the lonely, wealthy rancher, known across 3 counties for his silent demeanor and tragic past, rode along the fence line that morning to check storm damage. His cattle were restless, the sky growling with thunder, and he had no patience for anything else until he saw her. At first, she was no more than a silhouette crouched at the far end of his southern fence, sleeves rolled up, soaked through, hammer in hand, pounding a loose rail into place with fierce determination. Her long hair dark from the rain clung to her cheeks, and her clothes were far too thin for weather like this. Cole slowed his horse, confusion tightening his brow. No one should have been out there, not on his land, not in that storm. He dismounted and approached quietly, boots sinking into mud, and when he got close enough, she froze as though she'd been caught stealing. Her eyes shot up bright, scared. Striking and she stepped back like she expected to be yelled at, maybe even chased off. "Fence was loose," she said quickly, almost apologizing, fingers trembling around the worn hammer. Her voice was soft, polite, as if she had no right to be anywhere, not even in the rain. Cole studied her, the soaked blouse, the torn skirt, the way she hugged her arms around herself, not from fear, but from cold. She wasn't a ranch hand. She wasn't a neighbor, and she certainly wasn't dressed for work. "Ma'am, who are you?" he asked, but she didn't answer immediately. Her eyes darted toward the distant hills, as if calculating whether she could outrun him. But exhaustion betrayed her. She swayed slightly, and the fierce determination he'd seen a moment ago collapsed into something fragile and unbearably human. I'm sorry," she murmured, lowering her gaze again. "I saw the fence coming apart in the wind. I didn't want your livestock escaping. I just wanted to help." Cole frowned. No stranger risked a storm to fix a fence that wasn't theirs. Lightning cracked in the sky, and she flinched violently. Instinctively, Cole removed his coat and placed it around her shoulders, ignoring her startled protest. "This storm's no place to stand and talk," he said, voice firmer than he intended. "Come to the barn." "You're freezing," she hesitated, clutching the oversized coat like she wasn't used to warmth, kindness, or safety. But the wind howled again, forcing her to nod. Inside the barn, she stood near the lantern, as though afraid to take up too much space. She gave her name, and said very little else. But Cole saw things she didn't say. The way she stiffened when thunder rolled, as if trauma, rather than weather, shaped her reaction. The way she ate the small sandwich he offered, like she hadn't tasted food in days. The way her eyes filled with silent gratitude for the simplest gestures. He knew hardship when he saw it, the kind no one talked about. Finally, when he gently asked where she was staying, she whispered the truth so quietly he almost missed it. "Nowhere. I left a bad situation. I've been walking. I sleep where I can." Cole felt something twist inside him, something protective and furious at the world that had failed her. She'd been out in the rain fixing his fence not because she owed him anything, but because kindness was simply who she was even when she had nothing. He had seen many things in life storms, droughts, broken men, and harder years, but nothing struck him quite like the realization that this woman, soaked, shivering, and brave, had been homeless all along. And for the first time in years, he felt the quiet stir of something he thought he'd buried forever. The desire to save someone other than himself. Cole didn't sleep that night. Even after the storm died, his mind kept circling back to how she'd thanked him with her eyes rather than her words. How she'd tried to refuse a dry blanket, saying someone else might need it more. How she jumped at every unexpected sound like she'd been trained to expect punishment. He'd seen orphaned foals, abandoned pups, and wounded mustangs, with that same behavior creatures who had learned to survive without expecting kindness. But she wasn't an animal. She was a woman who had been failed by someone who should have protected her. As dawn broke over the ranch, painting the fields in gold, Cole found her already awake, scrubbing mud off her clothes, using a tin bucket of cold water, shoulders trembling from the chill. "Morning," he said softly, not wanting to startle her. She glanced up, brushing wet hair behind her ear. "Good morning. Thank you for letting me stay. I'll leave once my clothes dry." The words hit him like a blow. Leave. She wanted to walk back into the world that had given her nothing but rain, fear, and loneliness. "Arya, stay for breakfast," he said, carefully measured. "Just breakfast." Her guard wavered, if only a little. Inside, she ate slowly, as though savoring each bite, and Cole finally asked, "What happened?" "You don't owe me an answer, but I want to understand." She took a long breath and told him not everything, just enough. A man she trusted had turned cruel. She fled with nothing. She'd been on the road for weeks, doing odd jobs, keeping her head down, sleeping wherever she wouldn't be found. She thought she could repay the world by helping strangers in return, even if it meant fixing fences in a storm. Cole felt a heat in his chest he hadn't felt since losing his family, a protective fire that told him he couldn't let her walk out again, not into that world, not alone. "Arya," he said quietly, "what if you stayed here? Not forever, not as obligation, just until you're steady again. Safe, warm, fed. No one would bother you here." She blinked quickly, tears rising, but she wiped them away. "I don't want to be a burden. You won't be. This ranch is too big for one man anyway. I could use another pair of hands, someone who cares enough to fix a fence in the middle of a storm." Silence stretched between them until her eyes softened, something like hope flickering through. And that's when Cole realized he had been lonely too so lonely. The silence of the ranch had become a second skin. In Arya's presence, even in her quietness, the house felt different, warmer, human. She accepted his offer with a trembling nod. And in the days that followed, laughter slowly returned to the ranch, quiet at first, shy but real. Arya learned the rhythms of ranch life, and Cole learned the rhythms of her heart, how gently she loved animals, how fiercely she worked, how deeply she appreciated things others took for granted. They became a team, a partnership, a refuge for each other. And one evening, as the sun bled over the horizon and the horses grazed in long shadows, Arya said softly, "I never thought I'd find a place to belong." Cole stepped closer, touching her hand. "Maybe you didn't find it. Maybe it found you." And in that moment's simple, honest, life-altering, they both understood something without saying it. Sometimes the people you're meant to save are the ones who end up saving you too. If you enjoyed this story and want more emotional, powerful tales like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and share with someone who loves heart-touching Western stories. Your support helps these stories come alive every day. **